right the way. We don't need to think about who to blame. It's just so complicated. Promises keep breaking, and I hate that you are all I need. And I'm stuck in between what I know and what I feel. Why are we so unsteady, baby? Tell me. And you see right through me, but you still know what I need. Why are we so unsteady? Tell me. Why are we so unsteady? Tell me.
No more cloudy days, no more shades of gray. I'm dreaming in color, nothing in my way. Opened up my eyes, window to the sky. Dreaming in colors. Feels like I'm standing in sunlight for the very first time. All the leaves are like crystals to me, 'cause they sparkle so bright. Oh, I let it all go. I'm feeling my power inside. Back to life. No more cloudy days, no more shades of gray. I'm dreaming in color, nothing in my way. Survive. Opened up my eyes, window to the sky. Dreaming in colors. Feels so much beauty around me that I never noticed before. Ooh, a magical view. The whole world has opened its doors. Back to life. No more cloudy days, no more shades of gray. I'm dreaming in color, nothing in my way. Survive. Opened up my eyes, window to the sky. Dreaming in colors. No more cloudy days, no more shades of gray. Ooh, back to life. No more cloudy days, no more shades of gray. I'm dreaming in colors, nothing in my way. Opened up my eyes, window to the sky. Dreaming in colors, dreaming. No more cloudy days, no more shades of gray. I'm dreaming in colors, nothing gaze into your eyes. Oh, I love the way you smile. Oh, I'm forever reaching out to let you catch a glimpse of me.
Is it me or is this music hitting the spot
My
right here?
direction.
Hello,
I want to
and
let you
a
see.
happy love day, as Mark Simpson would say. We need a second holiday. Anyway, hump day. All kinds of comments going on now. Scamfish video. Cool. Let's do something about that. Okay, close enough. Anyways, Scamfish video, crimes of the week. There's also this businessman one about T-Mobile, and T-Mobile can go fuck off. As much as I have to use them, I don't have to. I don't want to fucking change my plan because it's too much effort and I don't want to do it. And let's go see why. Oh, and rise again? No, they're not rising. Fuck T-Mobile. They're not rising. My ass.
Today's video is sponsored by Stamps.com. I've been using them to print postage right from
I
my home.
like
with no
Stamps.com.
long-term commitments or contracts.
They're
To get
a
started,
very
you
good
go to
site.
Stamps.com/.
When I was cremating bodies, we used Stamps.com.
Includes a 4-week trial,
You
free
make your
postage,
label,
and a
you
free
tell them that
digital
you got a
scale. The
deceased
link
person
is
in there,
the
and you
description.
just send it.
T-Mobile is one of the largest cell phone service providers
Alexa,
in the
lights
United
white.
States. They're easily recognized by that famous magenta logo. You don't see a lot of magenta. I am going to guess that a lot of the people watching this have had
Are
personal
very mad?
experience with T-Mobile, considering that they have grown their subscriber base to over 100 million US customers, placing them almost at the same level as Verizon and AT&T, with no other competitor being nearly as significant.
Sprint.
Those are the big three. Though, in many ways, T-Mobile stands out from those other two, having disrupted the industry
they
and
don't.
in the process gaining an arguably more dedicated following. What I'm saying here is that T-Mobile is a successful company with a fairly positive reputation, but that has not always been the case. Looking
No.
back, around 2012, if you remember, that was when their
That's
commercials
the
were
fucking
centered around
bright
Carly,
as
the
color.
T-Mobile girl. Well, no offense to her, but maybe not the most effective campaign because they were struggling. Their sales were falling, they were losing money, and they had a terrible reputation.
I live in an
Most
area where
people
you get
saw
that
them as more
stupid
of a
SOS
discount
message.
provider that might be able to save you
I
some
can't say
money,
the
but
word
you
message,
simply
apparently.
were not going to get the network or the service that was offered at AT&T or Verizon. In fact, those two were in their own league. They were the bigger, more reliable providers, while
a lot
Sprint
better.
and T-Mobile were like the next level down. And by the way, T-Mobile was even lower than Sprint at that point.
Yep.
I have a separate video that focuses on what happened
Sprint
with Sprint,
at least
but T-Mobile
cared.
would go on to surpass them in 2015 and actually acquire them in 2020.
Which was the
All of it is
stupidest
reflective
move
of
ever.
T-Mobile's incredible comeback that I think is such a great story. So in this video, I want to talk about the rise,
see, can they
fall,
fix my
and
issues?
rise again of T-Mobile. For the initial rise, it gets a little tricky. Depending on how you want to look at it, T-Mobile technically has roots going back to the 1800s, originally formed as part of the
PDFs is
German
out.
government. Yeah, shortly after the invention of the telephone, they started
Really?
building up a network of phone lines throughout the
Did not
country
know
so
that.
the people of Germany could more easily communicate with each other. That system was mostly destroyed during World War II.
Oh, I thought he was
but
gonna say
slowly
'cause the
rebuilt
Nazis
afterward,
used
and
it.
was further expanded and modernized after East and West Germany came together. That is obviously a brief overview of more than a century
That's
of
a
history.
lot of
because
history
everything
going
becomes
by.
much more relevant starting in the 1990s. Laws were passed in Germany that led to their telephone system becoming a public company that would no longer be fully owned by the government. As a way
Okay.
to establish a brand identity to attract investors and become more competitive on the market, they renamed the system
Deutsche
Deutsche Telekom
Telekom.
and came up with that now iconic T logo to represent the telecom part of it. They had their initial public stock offering in late 1996, raising $13
So
billion.
T-Mobile is
I guess
German.
making it the largest IPO ever at the time. That was followed by the
That's
sale of
weird
even
as hell
more
to
stock
know.
later on. Now, in the 1990s, telecommunications were advancing fast and becoming more
Remember
competitive
the
than
bricks?
ever. The obvious way to keep up with the competition was to expand globally, and the easiest
To
way
the
to do
US.
that was to acquire already established telecom telecom companies in other countries. For example,
Big
almost
buyouts.
right at the same time, British Telecommunications had agreed to acquire the American company MCI in what would have been the largest foreign purchase of a US company, though it never ended up happening.
gross.
So Deutsche Telekom was looking to use that money that they had just raised to buy some foreign telephone companies. They bought separate ones all around Europe, in England and Austria, Slovakia. They even attempted to buy a massive one in Italy for $82 billion. That also never happened. Today,
course
Deutsche
not.
Telekom is the
Why?
third most
Why would it?
valuable company in Germany, with 78% of the revenue coming from international operations. So, as part of these global expansion efforts in 2001, they acquired a US wireless provider called VoiceStream for $35 billion.
remember that one
Seemingly a
whatsoever.
high price for the country's 8th largest wireless carrier with only 2 million subscribers, but the US wireless market was believed to have amazing potential, and since VoiceStream was one of the few providers that was not already part of a much larger company, this was their way in. Soon after, they completely rebranded VoiceStream as T-Mobile, taking that T from their existing logo. So that's it. That's how T-Mobile seemed to pop up out of nowhere in the United States. The wireless market was taking off. It was supported by a large company making significant investments with a memorable ad campaign featuring actress Catherine Zeta-Jones and their slogan, "Get More." T-Mobile became one of the
They
fastest
tried.
growing wireless brands, reaching 25 million subscribers within a decade. To be clear, never coming close to the market leaders. I mean, how could they possibly? But all things considered, T-Mobile was a relatively new, successful brand that really started to lose momentum. One of the possible reasons behind the trouble was having a
service.
weak network. So many complaints about dropped calls and lack
Still
of
a
coverage.
weak
and
fucking
that's
network.
aggravating to the customer. That is the kind of thing that will
That
make them
makes you
avoid
mad.
T-Mobile in favor of more
What do you
reliable
tell people when you work
competitors.
at a
At the
place
end of
that has
2012,
internet,
they
but
were the
the cell
only one
signals
of the
is
big
terrible
four
'cause
that
of the
had yet to
company?
launch their 4G LTE network. I do not want to get very technical with any of this, but they were falling behind and developing a negative reputation because of it. Another potential reason for the struggles would be a failed attempt to merge with AT&T. Yeah, the two companies tried to
Didn't know
combine
that.
together in a
Learned
$39
something new
billion
right there.
deal that would have created the biggest carrier on the market.
know that?
However, the FCC and the Department of Justice felt that the industry wouldn't be competitive enough if that happened, so they ultimately gave up on it, and the whole attempt ended up being a huge waste of time and money. Finally, T-Mobile was also struggling because they were the only one of the big four carriers that did not offer the iPhone to their customers. I realize that might not sound very
I remember that.
significant, but that
There was
was
a
a
big
very
out
desirable
controversy
phone
about
with a
that for, like,
dedicated fan base, so you
years.
can imagine how many customers were passing on T-Mobile simply because they
don't
wanted
have
an
an
iPhone. All of these factors came together to put T-Mobile in a questionable position. They were declining
sad.
financially and maybe even becoming the laughingstock of the industry. That
they
is not
should
where you
be.
want to be, so they made some changes to try to turn things around. Starting in September of 2012, when they named a new CEO, John Ledger, who completely changed the direction of the company. If you're not familiar with him, I'm just gonna say that he is a bit of a character, outspoken and unconventional, not the type of person you would typically see running a major
That's what
company
I
like
would
this,
like to
though
be.
maybe the perfect person to do it if you're looking to shake things up. I think this
I
is
gotta read- see if he
interesting.
has a
T-Mobile
book.
had a rule where people who worked at the stores were not allowed to have visible tattoos
that
or
bullshit.
piercings, and one of the first things he did was
No.
get rid of that rule.
you have
Probably
tattoos,
not
you
too
work.
significant in itself, but it represents his rebellious attitude and refusal to accept rules without questioning them. Here's what I'm leading to here. He did not like the way that the industry operated. Early on, he says that he would listen in on customer service calls so he can learn the biggest complaints that people had against them. He found out that people were
Service.
aggravated with T-Mobile and the other phone carriers because everything was so confusing and complicated.
Make it
The
easy.
phone that you got would be a lower price if you got it with a 2-year contract, but then you can't
Stupid.
upgrade it until a certain time or switch to a different company without paying
my
to
chair
end that
stuff.
contract. Not to mention overage fees and whatever unexpected costs you see on your
There's
bill
a
every
lot.
month.
Have
It is
you
a
ever
tricky
looked at your
system
cell
that
phone
I'm sure
bill?
has aggravated most of us at some point. Ledger even said that if a Martian came to Earth to try to understand how it all works, he would end up just
The
going right
fucking
back
Martian
home.
be like,
So
"No,
his idea
dude,
for
I don't wanna
T-Mobile was to
deal with
become the
anything."
uncarrier, different from all the others in that they are straightforward and simple with everything. No bundles, no contracts,
that
basic
commercial.
rates, easier upgrades, pretty much eliminating all of that tricky stuff that was aggravating everybody. They would go so far as to pay the fee to cancel your contract with your existing carrier if you switched over to T-Mobile. A lot of the advertisements directly put down the competitors, and Ledger himself would insult them all the time,
All
sometimes
the
using
time.
offensive language and maybe taking
Hey.
it a bit too far.
Oh.
You see that? Trash talking the competitors is not not something that you would typically
would.
expect from a CEO, and the others have
But
since
also,
responded with
it
some major
shouldn't.
changes meant to compete with the uncarriers, so they really did disrupt things. People appreciated the honesty and transparency, and it made T-Mobile stand out, especially with the younger customers. Their customer base has more than tripled in size, adding millions of them every year, but it wasn't just from that initiative. Acquisitions have continued to be a big factor. Obviously, the one with Sprint in 2020 caused a big spike in customers, but another significant one is when they bought Metro PCS in a deal that closed in 2013. For one, the deal helped grow their presence in the prepaid market, but for two, the
When's the
deal
last
helped
time you said
T-Mobile
anybody
strengthen
talk
their
about Metro
network.
PCS?
They acquired assets from Metro PCS that they utilized, but also it allowed them to do this reverse IPO type transaction that resulted in T-Mobile US becoming a public company that raised money from the sale of stock that was used to strengthen their network. In 2013, they finally launched their 4G LTE network, and to take it a step further, in 2019, they claimed to launch the first nationwide 5G network. Yeah, it's all kind of intangible and hard to compare, but T-Mobile has invested a lot of money to make it bigger and better. Everyone has their own experience, but I think almost anyone would agree that it is significantly better than it was back in 2012, maybe even among the best at this point. The last factor of the comeback that I'm going to talk about is the iPhone. I don't have too much to say about this, but T-Mobile finally made a deal with Apple where they could start selling the iPhone in 2013 when they were already on the iPhone 5. It was a little late, but I'm sure broke down a barrier that had previously detracted loyal Apple consumers. To finish things up, John Ledger left the company right when the Sprint merger happened, and they have continued to grow from there, reaching an all-time high in sales every single year since they became the uncarrier, and reporting profits every year as well. By almost any measure, T-Mobile has been one of the biggest success stories over the past decade or so, and may continue to get bigger. They have essentially closed that gap to catch up to AT&T and Verizon, so it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. They look completely different today when compared to back then, so how are they going to look in the future? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about T-Mobile? How do they compare to any of the other carriers? And if you have been with them for a while, how has that changed over the years as far as coverage and pricing and billing and everything else? I mean, given all this information, I would guess that they're better now, but what has been your experience? Did this video make you want to switch over to them or maybe away from them for some reason? And any other thoughts you have about T-Mobile or Deutsche Telekom or anything else in this video, leave them in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Stamps.com is today's sponsor, and you know,
let's go see
all the hype of the new year.
I don't know why anyone goes with T-Mobile over Mint. Mint Hughes, yeah, that's right. The cities, but are awful when in rural. Yep. As a German, seeing T-Mobile success in a trendy tech company known for being uncomplicated and just bizarre. Deutsche Telekom being formed as a state-run German postal service and famously slow and bureaucratic organization, even better, the German state still owns. Wow. Being so damned. Oh, sorry, guys. I am not a human. No. No. No, I don't like any about it. It's not good. It's not a good fucking carrier. Oh boy. Offensiveness. There is a new PDF, so let's go watch that first.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. You're watching the Philip DeFranco show, and what you know.
So let's go pee, and I'll be back. Oh boy. All right, let us read some. Oh, no, I want live one.
You know what? We got a lot of news to talk about today.
Oh,
We've got
boy.
mind-melting body cam footage of the dumbest cop alive. This Beyonce controversy's got people outraged. This ridiculous mistake. Polyamory's on the rise. And we have to dive into this ridiculous
Again?
greenwashing situation. And then there's even more to talk about in today's jumbo-sized show, so buckle up,
So
hit
two
that
jumbo
like button,
shows
let
this
YouTube
week.
know you like these daily dives into the news, and let's just jump into it. Starting with, we need to talk about possibly the dumbest cop alive. Because at the center of this story, you have one acorn, two cops, several dozen bullets, and an undeniable miracle. And we're talking about this because we just got some of the most mind-boggling body cam footage I've ever seen. And if you've hopped on social media, maybe you've even seen it, but I gotta talk in detail
I
about
haven't seen
what
it yet, so
went
I
down and
don't
what's
know.
happened since. Because all of this actually started one morning back in November in Florida. What?
Oh,
Florida? Who
Florida.
could have guessed?
Who
We have this
knew?
woman calling the
Why?
cops and
Why
telling them
would it
that her
be
boyfriend, 22-year-old
Florida?
Marquise Jackson,
Why's
stole her
my
car. As
name
the sheriff's deputies
Florida?
arrive, and she shows them texts that he allegedly sent her threatening to damage the car. With a photo including what appears to be, or at least what the cops believe to be, a firearm with a silencer poking into frame. And then Jackson himself actually shows up, and he claims that the car is at his girlfriend's mother's house. But a phone call to the mom quickly confirms that's a lie. And after a search around the area, police find the vehicle. So they end up arresting Jackson, but not before Deputy Jesse Hernandez pats him down, appearing to confirm he has no weapons. Then, with him clearly unarmed and handcuffed, the officers put him in the back of the patrol car. And that is where the normal part of the story ends and the batshit crazy part begins. Because while the female cop is talking to Jackson's girlfriend away from the patrol car, she hears her partner Hernandez yell, "Shots fired!"
It's okay. What? Where? Right there? Jesse, are you okay? Get in the house! Get in the house!
They absolutely lit up that patrol car, believing that somehow Jackson got a gun and he fired at Hernandez. But the girlfriend heard screaming and emotional agony for minutes on end. But then, in like a scene straight out of Pulp Fiction, Jackson comes out of the vehicle completely unharmed. Not a single bullet graced his body. And not only that, he was still also completely unarmed. So you might be asking, well, Phil, what the hell just happened? Because when we look at the footage from Hernandez's perspective, it doesn't
What the
clear
fuck?
anything up. If anything, you're just left even more confused.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! You know.
Wow! Wow! Jesus Christ! This
But now, all this time after, the sheriff's office has released a statement saying that as Hernandez was
This is
walking
why
up to
we
the
don't
car to
trust
search Jackson
cops,
one more
everybody.
time, he heard a pop,
Shit
which he
like
believed
that.
to be a gunshot. But of course,
Shit like
it wasn't,
that.
with investigators noting that an acorn fell from a tree onto the roof of
because
the
of-
car. Which means, yes, these cops almost turned this man into Swiss cheese because they got
Because
frightened
an
by an acorn.
acorn.
This guy was going
This
1v1 against
moron.
the invisible man. He thought he got shot while playing cops and robbers by himself. Now, of course, Jackson, like we said, he made it out alive
Jesus.
miraculously, but he also says he feels traumatized for life. With him writing in a Facebook post, "All I could do was lean over and play dead to prevent getting shot in the head. Windows were shattering on me the whole time as bullets continued flying across me. I was scared to death and I knew all I could depend on was God. I ignored everything and prayed. I haven't been the
Try not to
same since, and
die
I
by
don't think
these
this feeling I
fucking
have
dumbass
will ever
cops.
change. I truly believe I'm damaged for life." And as far as Hernandez, he was not charged with anything. He also wasn't fired. He ended up resigning back in December. The county sheriff also telling reporters that he didn't believe the officer acted with any malice. So I don't know
This
how
was
many
in
people were saying that he
November,
acted with
and now
malice.
we're
This
just finding out
overwhelming
about this
stupidity. But the
stupid
county
shit.
sheriff also going on to say, though his actions were ultimately not
acorn.
warranted, we do believe he felt his life was in immediate peril, and his response was based off the totality of circumstances surrounding this fear. And again, I am not accusing Hernandez of being evil. Just incredibly, incredibly stupid. Like, unless he is an Oscar-worthy actor, he genuinely seems to believe that he was shot. Even though, again, he was just having a 1v1 showdown with an acorn.
Oh, I'm hit! I'm good. I feel weird, but I'm good. I might have hit my vest. All right. I don't know. My legs went numb for a second. I heard a pop come from. Go this way.
And honestly, seeing this footage, it's
fucker.
genuinely scary that there is
This-
any sort of system
No,
in place
dude.
that thinks
No.
that that guy should ever, fucking ever, be given a
be
badge, a
anywhere with
gun,
that
and
fucking
qualified
thing.
immunity. No one trusts this guy with a fork, let alone a firearm. But hey, that's the story, some of my takeaway, and of course, I'll pass the question off
That's
to you.
wild.
What are your thoughts here? And then, in entertainment
Wild.
news and drama, let's talk about Beyonce. Because there's this controversy playing out with Beyonce and country music. And it's kind of not a shocker that this
I
is
don't
happening, given
know.
how, like, the last
Right.
time she had a big country song, there were other controversies about about how places like the Grammys didn't accept it into the genre. And we're now seeing a similar situation play out with her new songs Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages. Both are country, and they're the lead singles of what's believed to be a full Beyonce country album, with Texas
I'm
Hold'em
fine with
especially
this.
leaning into banjo and stomping. But then we got the news that a local country radio station in Oklahoma
Wouldn't play
apparently
it,
rejected
huh?
a request to play the track. And with that, one viral tweet saying, "I requested Texas Hold'em at my local country radio station, KYKC, and after requesting, I received an email from the radio station stating we do not play Beyonce on KYKC as we are a country music station, and saying this station
it
needs to be held
matter?
accountable for their blatant racism and discrimination against Beyonce." Right, and that prompted a lot of outrage,
Yeah,
especially because
and it
there's a history
should.
of country music shutting out black artists. Like how in the past we've seen Billboard pulling Lil Nas X's Old Town Road from the country charts despite its crossover success, with people at that time saying, it showed segregation with the genre. And now with what we're seeing with Beyonce getting
is
denied country
segregation,
radio play, you have some
I
saying,
don't know,
all
it's
the
kind of
racism
fucking
we're about to
blatant.
bear witness to because Beyonce is digging into her country roots is going to be intergalactic. And as a black country singer, I'm so glad other people are now seeing what us
Please
smaller
support black
artists have to
country
go through
singers.
to break into this genre and industry. And with this, people getting Beyonce is country trending to show support, others bringing up the genre's history, with outlets like the Washington Post saying that her new songs salute the genre's black cultural roots. And in fact, some argue that part of the reason Beyonce is leaning into country is to reclaim the genre and fight back against racism within it. And so with all of this playing out in real time, it ended up prompting the radio station to respond, with Roger Harris, the general manager of Southern Central Oklahoma Radio Enterprises, telling the Tennessean that they weren't playing it because of the market size, saying, quote, "We're not in a position to break an artist or help it that much, so it has to chart a little bit higher for us to add it. But we love Beyonce here. We play her on our other top 40 and adult hit stations, but we're not playing her on our country station yet because it just came out." And going on to say, we sort of pattern ourselves after the bigger stations. When they start playing it, that's a big factor, and the charts are the second biggest. And going on to defend the station's initial rejection by saying that they would have had the same response to a request for the Rolling Stones, but then also adding that the station will play Beyonce's new songs if they're country. And all that leading to the station posting on social media that it did have a lot of requests for the song and it had it queued up yesterday. And outlets like NPR saying the station said it took so long because it previously didn't even have the song. Though also with this, you have some people and outlets wondering, is this a one-off thing or is this going to be part of something that's maybe a bigger trend? For example, Billboard saying that overall country radio has been
some
slow to
background
embrace
I
the
know
song.
about
But as
that.
of yesterday, Columbia
And
did
if-
officially service Texas Hold'em to country
It's
stations,
slightly
saying that could
true.
also change soon.
It's
But with all that
slightly
said,
true.
I'd really love to know your thoughts here, especially if you're a Beyonce fan or a country,
country
music fan,
fan.
maybe you're even both. What are your thoughts on this situation
you
and
be?
controversy?
Probably really
Because
good
I
country
am
music.
just very ill-equipped to have a meaningful opinion on this topic. Hell, I think I'm one of 3 people that hasn't heard either of the 2 songs yet. I'm just too busy imagining
heard
what I
them,
do
so.
in scenarios that will never happen. And then it's Valentine's Day today, and that means I gotta tell you about
Happy
2
Love
things. The first is just
Day.
for me. I just want to say I'm sending my thoughts and prayers to all you fools out there celebrating Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day. Because this
It's the
corporate
day after,
hallmarkified
yes.
holiday is already bullshit. But it's a sad time if you're finding yourself out tonight at some restaurant that's jam-packed you in like a bunch of sardines that push the tables insanely close. You're shoulder to shoulder with strangers. You can't have an intimate conversation. All
with
because you gave
people.
in to the manufactured pressure, or you decide to date someone that cares about that manufactured pressure. I mean, if you're gonna do something for Valentine's Day, do it around Valentine's Day. And that's even if you partake at all. Though, every person and every relationship, they're different. In fact, the
That's what
second
they
thing
want, huh?
we're talking about on this day of love is that more and
Oh,
more
hot.
relationships are looking different. With reports coming out noting that it is increasingly popular for people to consider polyamory and ethical non-monogamy, as
No,
opposed to
no
unethical
more. Don't do that.
non-monogamy, which is just
Stupid.
extra words for cheating. Because while there's limited data
you.
quantifying the actual increase in these
That's
kinds
exactly
of
what it
relationships,
is.
we have
I've
seen
learned
some
that the
online
hard
dating
way.
services reporting spikes in the number of people seeking them out. But also, it's undeniable that non-monogamy has kind of crept into the mainstream in
going through
recent
any
years.
dating
Whether it be
app, that's
articles, books,
exactly-
shows like Couple to Thruple, as well as sex-positive dating apps like Field. And actually there, the app CEO telling Axios, an already increased interest in non-monogamy grew during lockdown when people had more time to consider their sexual identities and what they wanted out of relationships. And in fact, a YouGov poll last year revealed that 1/3 of Americans described their ideal relationship as something other than complete monogamy. And then when you
So
narrow
it
it
is
down
all
to just
going
people
back
under
to just
45, the percentage share
Joseph
jumps to
Smith time is what we're
41% for
telling
women and
everybody now.
55% for men. And last month, we saw that Match's annual survey found that about 1/3 of American singles say they've had a consensually non-monogamous relationship, with 16% saying they do it again in the
Well,
future.
I
Also,
wouldn't.
notably, when you
I don't
dig
think
into
I
those
would
numbers,
ever.
the types of relationships vary wildly. Right at one end, you have a full-blown polycule, where you have multiple romantic partners who often know and hang out with one another. And at the other end, there's swinging,
I've been in there.
threesomes, and other group sex
I've
that
been in
includes your
all.
partner, and then all this other shit in the middle, like thruples or an open relationship where you have one romantic partner, but you can have casual sex with other people. Now, with all that said, if you are hearing all this and you're like, all of this is insane, right? You're thinking, I could never do that. you're not alone. Because also typically people who practice these lifestyles acknowledge that it's not for everyone. But they also
it's
argue
not.
that neither is
If you can do
monogamy.
it,
And they are
cool,
pointing to
but-
data showing that half of all first marriages end in divorce, with infidelity being a leading reason. So they argue that if monogamy is not working so well for a lot of people, maybe they should consider trying something more flexible. Though notably, still more people disapprove than approve of non-monogamy when surveyed. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? And also, I guess if you want to overshare with the class, if your opinions are based off of personal experience, feel free to
let
share.
us
Maybe make
know.
an alt account. And then, I think most of us have felt the pressure
not
at some
gonna do
point
that.
of
That's
trying to
too much
get
effort.
ahead, but instead falling further into debt with credit cards, personal loans,
God.
medical bills. And if you're at the point where yet you'll receive a full breakdown on how to save on interest each month and the quickest way to take care of
that
your
means
debt
you
is go to
picked up a loan officer friend.
pdsdebt.com/DeFranco and get your quick and
Which
easy
I
debt
need to
assessment
do,
today,
'cause
because it's
I-
time to take
I would
back
like to
control
do
of your
this.
life and live for you, not your debt.
I
And
think
then
that'd be a
lawmakers right
smart
now
idea.
are getting calls from dead people, right? People like Joaquin Oliver, who was one of the 17 people that died in the Parkland Marjorie Stoneman Douglas school shooting. And today, on the 6-year anniversary of that tragedy, lawmakers are
Shit,
getting
I forgot
calls
it
and they're
was,
hearing
huh?
Joaquin and others demanding gun reform.
Hello, I'm Joaquin Oliver. 6 years ago, I was a senior at Parkland. Many students and teachers were murdered on Valentine's Day that year by a person using an AR-15, but you don't care. You never did.
They don't.
It's been 6 years and you've done nothing. Not a thing to stop all the shootings that have continued to happen since.
There have been
The thing
more
is,
than 7
I
shootings
died that day in
within-
Parkland.
since
My body was
Sunday this
destroyed
week,
by
you
a
guys.
weapon
Think
of
about
war.
that.
Other
Think
victims
about
like
that.
me will be calling too, again
There
and
was one
again,
in Missouri
to demand
today, in
action.
Kansas City for the Super
How many
Bowl
calls
parade.
will it take for you to care?
That'll
How
be in the
many
news
dead
tonight and
voices will you
tomorrow.
hear before you finally listen?
And as far as how this is happening, it's
'Cause they
AI,
won't
with the voices
make
being
money.
recreated using AI by their families for a new campaign for gun reform called the Shot Line, with each voice coming from a victim of gun violence, like 10-year-old Uzi Garcia, a victim of the Uvalde school shooting 2 years ago.
I'm a fourth grader at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. Or at least I was, when a man with an AR-15 came into my school and killed 18 of my classmates, 2 teachers, and me. That was almost 2 years ago. Nothing has changed. Even more shootings have happened. That's why my family recreated my voice using AI to call you today and demand change.
Right, and in order to make this happen, families took audio clips of their children speaking and sent them to Edison, a global film production company. With the company then working on
Look at that.
recreating the voices, and the families would
Wow.
offer notes on cadence, tone, and inflection to
gonna
most
look
accurately
them up,
replicate their
actually.
children's voices. And from there, the families helped create the scripts that were read by the AI. And notably, this initiative is backed by 2 organizations: March for Our Lives, the activist group formed by students of Stoneman Douglas following the Parkland shooting, and the other being Change the Ref, which was actually founded by Joaquin's parents, Manuel and Patricia Oliver, who have been relentless in their pursuit for gun reform since their son's death. In fact, Manuel was reportedly arrested back in 2022 for climbing on a construction crane near the White House with a banner demanding that Joe Biden enact stricter gun laws. And
Good.
actually, months later, he was booted from the White House for yelling at Biden. And this also isn't the Olivers' first adoption of AI for their cause. In fact, back in 2020, they used AI to create a video of Joaquin urging voters to choose candidates who support stricter gun laws. And that notably was met with some criticism, with ABC reporting a comment on the video reading, "They put words in a dead kid's mouth. If my father did this to me, I would haunt him for the rest of his life." And while using
No,
AI to recreate the
no,
voices of
not-
dead children may be shocking and unsettling, you have the
It's
families involved
what's
saying that's the
happened.
entire point. With the father of another teen, Ethan
needs
Song,
to be.
saying, "This was a heartbreaking thing for us to do, but I think this is the
be
kind of thing
shocking.
that wakes people up." And this, as the process was incredibly painful for these families. With Patricia Oliver, for example, saying that she and her husband combed through their phones and computers for clips of Joaquin speaking in order to make this happen, and asked other family and even Joaquin's girlfriend to do the same. And Ethan's mother, Kristen Song, saying, "It brings you back to that day, the last words your child had with you before walking out of your life, basically. I just sat and
It's
sobbed,
not-
honestly, just because you know he's
not
never going to
good.
come back." Now, with all this, whether or not this is an
Just-
ethical use of
just
AI, of
fuck.
course, that's up for debate. But you do have people like a communication studies professor at American University saying, "I'll say it's one of the least nefarious uses of voice cloning technology I've heard of yet. There is a forest of ethical concerns to navigate
There's a
here. Is this
lot
just a
worse
new
you
way
could
to
be
use
doing with
people's
these
likeness for
things.
persuasive and informative speech? Or is it a kind of soul-snatching
But what they're doing
abomination?"
is
I
what
suspect
they
it's the
think they
first, but
need
we're
to
going
do
to
for
have to
their
decide
kids that don't
collectively whether it's the
exist.
first or the second. And this also, as some AI experts have said, this type of
Anymore.
project seems to be above board, under the caveat that the messages aren't trying to deceive or mislead anyone.
No,
Ultimately,
they're
though,
not.
it's a
That's
situation that
what
I imagine is going to
happened.
be very polarizing, and when you hear it, it's so jarring. I just absolutely have to pass the question off to you. what are your thoughts on this? And also, with all of this, I do want to say it is not lost on me while I'm reporting this, and as I'm finishing up today's show, we're seeing this news break that several people were just shot near the Kansas City Victory Parade, with 2 armed people detained as of filming right now, and obviously we're going to be talking about this more tomorrow as more details come in. And then, House Republicans actually did it this time. They didn't slip on a banana peel at the last second like last time, and they impeached Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and accomplishing this absolutely historic move with the smallest majority possible. It came down to a single vote, with all Democrats and even 3 Republicans voting against the 2 articles of impeachment, those being willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law and breach of public trust for his handling of the southern border. And leading up to this, like we knew this was coming. No one changed their opinion from that last vote to this vote. You just had one Republican who was absent last week coming back and breaking the tie. And so, with this, like before, we saw Democrats responding with the same arguments they've been making the whole time against this, saying that there's zero evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors, which is the constitutional basis of the impeachment process, and saying that Republicans are abusing a very serious tool meant to address corruption for the sole purpose of punishing someone whose policies they don't agree with, and all for political gain during an election year where Trump has called for his minions in the House to get political retribution for his 2 impeachments. Right? This isn't a thing that casually happens. There's literally one other cabinet secretary in all of fucking American history that's been impeached before. And that was 150 years ago. And that Ulysses S. Grant-ass secretary resigned before the House impeached him on corruption charges after finding evidence of widespread wrongdoing, including accepting kickbacks, which also means that Mayorkas is the first ever sitting cabinet member to be impeached in U.S. history. And this, as Democrats have condemned House Republicans as hypocrites, right? Because they've impeached Mayorkas for allegedly failing to secure the southern border at the same time they literally killed a bipartisan bill to do exactly that he helped move along with Democrats and Republicans. And actually, very notably, just this morning we saw the Washington Post reporting that because of the failure to pass that bill, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has drafted plans to release thousands of immigrants and scale back its capacity to hold detainees. Right, this according to 4 officials at ICE and DHS. And I mean, that bipartisan bill that was killed at Trump's direction, it would have closed a $700 million budget shortfall by allocating $6 billion in additional funding for ICE operations. Which, I mean, it's actually insane to be like, well, Democrats were going to vote for this? That was a huge concession to the Republicans, right? Dems don't usually support bolstering ICE enforcement. Even though Republicans claim that they want increased enforcement, because they refused to pass this bill, ICE officials were proposing cutting detention beds from 38,000 to 22,000. Right?
So
the lack of beds, like, that's not going to
die.
stop the influx of migrants at the border. That just means there's fewer places to put them. As well, some
Which
of these
means it's
people
gonna
will
push them
be
further
deported.
in
Officials
and
say that
cause a
much
bigger
of the
problem.
offsets will have to happen by just mass
And
releasing
then when Trump
detainees.
tries
Which, I mean, just
to
so we're on the
fix
same
it,
page, like,
he's
it's
not
not
gonna be able to
uncommon
because
for
it's
this
gonna
to
be
happen.
too
The U.S.
much.
lacks adequate detention
Like, oh,
capacity,
no,
and even the Trump
fuck it.
administration had to release some
Fucking
migrants because of
God
it. But it
damn it.
is wild when you think that one of the Republicans' main arguments for impeaching Mayorkas was that his agency had released too many detainees, while they are now essentially forcing ICE to mass release even more. Now, as far as Mayorkas' future, he's probably going to be fine. His impeachment is going to be heading to the Senate for a trial, and it is widely expected that he's not going to be convicted because you need 2/3 of the Senate for that. And I mean, even Republicans have expressed doubt about the whole ordeal. So in general, it's kind of just a lot of political theater. And while all of this is obviously a waste of taxpayer dollars and congressional time when maybe they could actually be pushing through important legislation, it remains to be seen if this theater will be beneficial for Republicans. Because while talking heads and propaganda arms are going to try and make this seem as crazy as possible, you kind of have to jump through some hoops to push that argument without acknowledging the fact that Republicans killed something that was supposed to help the border. Right? They're actively kneecapping Mayorkas' ability to do the job and then trying to prosecute him for not standing tall enough. And then, an absolutely wild business news. We got to talk about Lyft, right? The rideshare service, because they took the market on a ride yesterday, straight on the tracks of a roller coaster. Right? Because yesterday, Lyft put out its quarterly earnings release, and it turns out there was an itty-bitty typo with them reporting, and I'm not joking, that their earnings outlook was 10 times higher than it was supposed to be. That's because in the release, they reported that they would improve their adjusted earnings margin by 500 basis points, or, 5%, when in reality, the actual number was only 50 basis points, or 0.5%. And because of that typo, because of that extra zero, their stock surged. I mean, it hit the highest that it's been since August of 2022.
Jesus, I wish I
and oh,
would've known.
baby, those poor
I gotta put
souls that
fucking
got
Google
on
alerts
that
on my phone
rocket
again.
ship and then did anything else, because the stock then very quickly fell again after the CFO clarified the actual numbers, with the stock dropping from
That
over
poor
$20 to
finance
$14
dude,
a
he's
share.
like,
Though notably,
shit.
it still ended up being a 50% gain for the company. And in a move you rarely actually see these days, the CEO, David Risher, took all the blame. And ultimately, I don't know if there is a lesson
If
here,
I
because
have
while
to
I'm
do it, I'll
inclined to
do
say,
it.
don't be stupid, double check your work before you present it to the world and you're the head of $1 billion company. But the stock still went up, and we'll never truly know how many people bought into this and have held because of the error, and they don't want to take a loss already. Though this is you had Risher saying, while that was a mistake, it should make Lyft's otherwise excellent financial performance. But while Lyft obviously got a lot of attention because of this, not the only big news in the rideshare space, with Uber just announcing their first ever buyback plan, saying the company is going to repurchase as much as $7 billion billion in shares to return capital to shareholders. And this all notably coming after Uber's reported their first full year of operating profit and positive free cash flow. Though, a big thing is while the higher ups there, they feel pleased that the company's financial outlook is looking great, their employees seem to be telling a different story, with drivers for both Uber and Lyft along with DoorDash across the US and the UK striking today for better pay and working conditions. Drivers saying that the platforms are taking massive chunks of their fares and fees and it's hurting their earnings. With, for example, one driver in Dallas saying, these platforms continuously decrease driver earnings year after year as means to show they are profitable to investors to get them to buy into their stock. One group, Justice for App Workers, reportedly representing 130,000 delivery workers and drivers, has asked their membership to refuse rides to and from airports in 10 different cities. And in the UK, more than 3,000 delivery workers are also expected to strike for several hours. Now, with this, the companies have all offered responses to the strike, with Uber and DoorDash just simply saying that it's unlikely that there will be an impact on their services. Meanwhile, you had Lyft talking about their recent guarantees for driver pay and saying they're, quote, constantly working to improve the driver experience. And then, have you experienced, like, after the hype of the new year that we all kind of settle into our routine?
Is this
But,
about noon?
for businesses that do lots of mailing and shipping, you got to keep moving. Actually being able to spend more time with my family. So keep your mailing and shipping at the speed of your business to go to stamps.com/Phil for a special offer.
Two videos with stamps.com
plus
as
free
a sponsor
postage,
this
free
week.
digital scale, no long-term commitments or contracts. You just got to go to stamps.com/Phil. And then we got to talk about how 7 of the most prominent news outlets in the world are being paid massive dollars to promote big oil's misleading climate claims to their trusting readers. Right, because what got revealed in
Why
this
am I not
devastating
surprised?
report from The Intercept in collaboration with The Nation, Drilled, and Desmog is wild. Right, so the report looked at Bloomberg, The Economist, the Financial Times, the New York Times, Politico, Reuters, and the Washington Post. With those being selected because they're consistently at the top of lists for the most trusted news outlets in the US and Europe. And the authors of this report reviewed promotional materials called advertorials, or native advertising between October 2020 and October of 2023. Right, and so-called native advertising is when a company pays to have certain sponsored content created to look like a news outlet's real editorial work. And in fact, it's published alongside that legitimate journalism. Something that you personally might describe as sketchy, or you might find yourself agreeing with The Intercept, who called it a tactic that was lending a veneer of journalistic credibility to the fossil fuel industry's key climate talking points. Though those ads aren't just limited to the fossil fuel industry. Many other industries enjoy using this tactic as well. You see a lot from big pharma. But that said, this practice does have very deep roots in big oil. In fact, just the idea of the advertorial was first created in the 1970s by Mobil Oil's vice president of public affairs with help from the New York Times, with that VP encouraging public relations executives to be brave about, quote, getting around the press, right, to push their ideas and a version of events to the public. And obviously that quickly spread to other outlets and industries, completely revolutionizing advertising as we know it. Because not only did it change where these companies were advertising, it changed the what they were advertising. Or with these, you're not selling a product, you're selling an idea of the world. And maybe that idea benefits me, who sells a product. And that promotional content's just been getting cranked out faster and faster. Over the last decade or so, we've seen major news outlets starting their own internal brand studios with creative teams whose job it is to produce those materials. And today, almost all big outlets have these creative teams, including the 7 companies reviewed in this report. And they've been evolving, right? They don't just produce content in the style of articles. Arguably, those are the most obvious. They've also expanded to videos, podcasts, newsletters, and sometimes even sponsored events. Now, a key thing that I do want to mention is that most outlets keep their advertorial teams separate from their journalists. But as The Intercept explains, the independence of these outlets' journalists is not in question. What's important is whether readers understand the difference between reporting and advertising. And according to a growing body of peer-reviewed research, they do not. In fact, according to a Georgetown University study from 2016, 2 out of every 3 people confused advertorials as real journalistic content. But also remember, everything is evolving. And in a more recent study by Boston University researchers in 2018, they found that just 1 in 10 people recognized native advertising as what it was and not reporting. And that's concerning in general, but it's especially concerning because that ad content is pushing big oil climate narratives that have been widely condemned for greenwashing and being misleading or even outright false. With, for example, a climate disinformation expert and professor at Harvard University explaining they're manufacturing content that at best is completely one-sided and at worst is disinformation and pushing that to their readers. I mean, let's take a look at content produced by the New York Times and Mobil, right? The 2 organizations that pioneered this whole thing. 2017 peer-reviewed study of the Times advertorials with Mobil and then also ExxonMobil after the merger found that 81% of content that mentioned climate change highlighted doubt in the science. And so where this becomes especially dangerous is when these ads are then sandwiched alongside real, actual reporting on climate change. Right? And as The Intercept explains, climate reporters at every single outlet they reviewed have diligently covered the challenges that the industry's so-called solutions face. But when the reporting is placed alongside corporate-sponsored content touting the technology's benefits, it leaves readers confused. Right? The other side, or a connecting piece of the company that you're working for, is actively trying to undercut you in your own house. They're getting paid to do it. I mean, for example, Bloomberg Media Studios created a video for ExxonMobil promoting hydrogen power and carbon capture and storage, where you have the company's CEO saying it's ready to deploy CCS to reduce the world's emissions. But it failed to mention, this is so crazy, I don't know how this happened, that Exxon also plans to ramp up annual carbon emissions by as much as the output of the entire nation of Greece, which notably is the news that Bloomberg's own climate reporters literally broke. We've also seen the Washington Post advertorials kind of remaining relatively under the radar compared to its biggest competitor, the New York Times, which of course has gotten more scrutiny because, again, they started all of this. But I don't want them to miss out on this party, so from 2020 to 2023, the report found that the Post actually worked with more fossil fuel advertisers than the New York Times did, sending out more than 100 newsletters sponsored by ExxonMobil in 2022 alone and creating native ads for the American Petroleum Institute and BP. Post also ran a series of online editorials in 2020 and 2021 for the American Petroleum Institute, which notably is the single most powerful big oil lobby, with this including a piece that claimed renewable energy is unreliable and fossil gases needed to go alongside it, which infuriatingly are misleading fossil fuel industry talking points that literally the Post's own reporters often debunk. And amazingly, all of this went down during the same time period that the Post was expanding its climate reporting, which, by the way, won a Pulitzer Prize. And keep in mind, I'm going to be linking to the full report in the description because I can't touch on every single example in here. I'm trying to make it consumable. I want you to take the deep dive. But I do need to add, it's a very significant thing. The authors of this report explicitly say that out of all the outlets they analyzed, Reuters was offering the most options to fossil fuel advertisers and working with more fossil fuel majors than any other outlet. And another key thing, adding that Reuters is also blurring the line the most between advertorial and editorial. With The Intercept explaining here, not only does Reuters deliver in-house print, digital, video, and audio content for fossil fuel giants, they also literally create custom events for the industry, including summits that are explicitly designed to remove the, quote, pain points holding back faster production of oil and gas. And those events go beyond just their in-house brand team, where you have Reuters journalists regularly moderating panels at these events. The Reuters event staff literally try to entice oil industry players to buy their event packages by promising exclusive interviews with those journalists. And that's in addition to offering to produce webinars and
learning so much
in-depth scientific papers for oil companies that are written by Reuters event staffers, but include Reuters editorial content. Like, for example, in December of 2022, Reuters hosted an event that was sponsored by the Oil and Gas Climate Initiative. Sounds maybe sanitary. It is a lobby that contains many of the biggest oil companies in the world. And the whole point of that was to basically greenwash by discussing the so-called major part oil companies play in ensuring a sustainable energy transition. And during that, the official Reuters event Twitter page was literally tweeting out industry talking points. And while I'm focusing for this moment on Reuters, they are not alone in their expansion into events, with other outlets like the Financial Times, The Economist, and Politico all hosting climate events sponsored by big oil. And one media analyst even saying that these events now represent 20 to 30% of revenue for some of these outlets, which then brings us back around to the whole reason that these news outlets are doing this in the first place. Money, money, more money. With the report noting, these offerings come at a higher cost than traditional ad buys, making them increasingly important to for-profit newsrooms facing a structural crisis in traditional revenue models driven by the rise of social media. Though here, I do want to note that it is difficult to know exactly how much money that we're talking about, because in a shocking turn of events, there's not a ton of transparency here, which is why the people behind this report can only estimate total revenue. And even they acknowledge that their estimates here are very conservative, and that because they say they only include figures verifiable with ad data service Media Radar, which represents only some of the fossil fuel ad revenue these publishers are bringing in. But even those conservative estimates are very significant. Like, for instance, they show that the New York Times has by far received the most money in the period from 2020 to 2023, which again, very conservatively, they're saying is more than $20 million from major fossil fuel companies. And that is actually more than twice as much as any of the other 6 outlets. With that in large part fueled, hey, we do puns here sometimes, by Saudi Aramco. And they were the biggest spender by a mile. They spent $13 million just with the Times alone. You know, even as these companies are seemingly okay with selling their souls, right? The ends justify the means in their eyes. Many of their own reporters are unsurprisingly not okay with this, with climate reporters at these outlets who requested anonymity telling The Intercept that these partnerships with big oil companies are gross, undermining, and dangerous. With one also adding, not only does it undermine the climate journalism these outlets are producing, but it actually signals to readers that climate change is not a serious issue. And that's a point that's been echoed by many experts. You can say, hey, we still have the reporting, but you're confusing people, and that's part of the goal. All of a sudden, I don't know, I'm hearing different things. I guess it's up for debate. Who really knows, I guess? Why should I focus on this? What's deeply alarming isn't just that, like, news media is being used for this, it's that they're incentivized to. Your everyday person's not fucking diving into peer-reviewed reports and studies. News media, whether largely established or independent, you help craft people's understanding of the world. When we talk about long-standing, established news media, like, it's not just for the public, but for policymakers as well. But again, I want to close this by saying this is not the fault of 99% of the journalists. This whole shit show, like, you can't use this against them. Being a journalist is an often thankless job, depending on where you are. It's a dangerous job. And most any that I've come across, even when I do not agree with them or I feel like they said something about me that I do not think is accurate. I think many are going out there with the best of intentions. Well, I think that all of us should not like the situation that we see here. This is probably the most infuriating for them. But hey, that is where I'm going to leave this one. I'd love to know
Right.
any and all thoughts you have on this. I know it's
After
kind of a deeper
yesterday
dive. Yeah,
today,
thanks for listening. And then
we'll take a
finally,
break.
let's talk about yesterday today. The Pure Community part of the show where we
Compete
dive
and
into
then
the
do
comments on
Scamfish.
yesterday's show and see what y'all had to say. And understandably,
nice
a lot
little
of the
crimes of the
conversation was around the Lakewood shooting, with folks like Rembreaker saying, it's crazy enough to attempt mass murder. It's another thing entirely to drag your child into it. I hope that kid gets
Yeah,
the
I
physical and
don't-
mental
I don't
healing
like
they
that she
need.
did
Well, there
that.
was
That
obviously
makes
a
me
lot
very
of people
upset.
that agreed with that statement. You also had others like the Double Helix saying she was definitely not well and shouldn't have been allowed to purchase those weapons. Right in there, a big
No,
section of
she
yesterday's
shouldn't
story
be
was
able
focused on
to.
all the stuff that led
But
to the
it's
events that happened,
Texas.
the severe mental health issues, all the red flags where the authorities didn't do enough or at times anything at all. Though then there were also comments
Texas
from
will
some
fall
that
to its
seemingly
own
just
hell.
didn't watch our coverage, since part of it was also
feel bad for
clearing
my
up
friends who live
misinformation
there.
that was being spread by right-wing sources, with Savia Ironside saying it was a man who had a mental illness. Isn't that crazy? But luckily, there were plenty of people who actually used their listening ears who responded, saying, the trans thing was debunked, right? She was a biological mother and cis woman. I mean, even fucking Fox News had to correct their reporting. And then in
Fox
addition
News
to
walked
that, there
back
was a
their
lot of
fucking
conversation,
statement.
understandably, around Jon Stewart, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and Agegate. With some beautiful bastards like Mr. Brickaloo saying, debating whether they're too old instead of debating how to not be stuck choosing between two old people. Yeah, and I think that's, what we
That's
touched
the
on yesterday.
fucking
is the fact
question
that
of the
it
lifetime
shouldn't
right
be a
there.
debate of if they are too old. They are. It's about the conversations,
we
the
need
hypocrisy,
somebody
and
younger
all the
in
mess that's
there.
happening with that, as well as going, in this
There is a
situation that we
reason
shouldn't
why
be
that
in. How do we
age
move
was
forward?
set
I
at
saw a lot of people agreed
35.
with me that there do need to be age limits when we're
Think
talking
about that. There was a
congressmen and the
reason that
fucking
they put
president
an
of the
age
United States,
start
and also
date
like we've talked about on the show,
that
actually
says
having term limits.
35.
Like there are people in Congress who have been there for over 40 years. Also, I might as well touch on it more here. Yesterday I was really focused on the Jon Stewart coverage and then expanding based off of that. But I will say that the backlash against Jon Stewart was very interesting, and specifically, I mean, from a few Democrats that I saw, because I saw some people reacting like, "Wow, Jon Stewart's gone for 9 years and he comes back with Biden old. He's giving air to the Biden gaffe stuff." And well, I understand
Jon
that,
Stewart
people are
was
fucking
doing a lot
on
of shit.
edge
If you
going
don't know
into this
what he was
election.
doing,
I also feel like
you
that's an
don't know what
inaccurate
the
and
news
oversimplified way of viewing that
was.
coverage. If you actually watched his full segment on it, because if anything, while Stewart seemingly does have a gripe that we're
fucking
electing
fought
a
for the
77-year-old or
veterans. He
an
does a lot of
81-year-old,
stuff
that piece that
for
he did
actual-
heavily focused on the hypocrisy
That
and
man ran,
blindness
I
to
would
everything
fucking vote
that's
for him,
fucked
I'll
up
tell
with
you that
Trump's
much.
brain. Though also how it's not a one-to-one comparison because of all the other horrible
love
shit
Jon Stewart
associated
to
with
run.
Donald Trump and the horrible
Look at
shit that he's done.
Zelensky,
But that doesn't
fucking
make it
comedian
so you
turned
just
fucking
turn
president.
a blind eye to the faults of the candidate that you might want to elect. And all of this, again, as I think many Democrats would
Make it
vote
a
for a
country
comatose
better
Joe
than it should
Biden
be.
over an anything Donald Trump. But that is where today's daily dive into the news is going to end. But don't worry about missing my lovable dumb face, because my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love
I'm
yo
going to take a pee
faces.
break. We're going to come back and we're going to watch Crime Zone videos. So don't die, anybody. All right. Let us continue. Let's go find crimes of the week. Ooh. I think we got to go through subscriptions. See all the weird shit I'm subscribed to. Ooh. Okay, hold on. Before we do that, this is the me thing. I like Frasier. Don't judge me. Best Nile one-liners. Also, subscribe to Mexican.
Oh, let me just get my hair out of the way.
There we go. Oh, dear.
Oh, my. Can you see them?
Oh, yes, thank you. Your life is not over! Niles! Niles!
Miles!
Oh, my God.
Killed himself.
Oh, Niles, guess what? Thriving Seattle Night Spot is closing its doors.
Roz, you're moving.
Well, go on. Turn your heads.
Oh, for goodness sake, Fraser, I'm a happily married man. Maris means the world to me. Why, just the other day, I kissed her for no reason whatsoever.
Heck, I can't even decide whether to have the strawberry or the grape jelly.
Well, Dad, I still have my trusty quarter. Let's say heads grape, tails strawberry.
That was amazing. I've never felt so in touch with nature.
What happened?
For the first time in my life, I just urinated outdoors. You don't seem to understand. I feel this rage. It's as if this beast has been awakened within me. Can you get that for me?
You can't even open it.
More mobility
I
in his
love
feet.
this scene.
And
Hold
his
on.
flexibility's improving, but it's always
He's
a chore
tried so
to get
hard
him
to
to
get
do
on
his
that counter.
exercises. Of course, I found the secret is if I bribe him with sweets, then...
Dinner? Perfect. No place fancy. I'm sure neither of us wants a heavy meal with lots of wine and expensive desserts.
Oh, it's your turn to pay, isn't it?
You know me so well. Does she ever act delusional?
Well, she often claims that she's responsible for the success of our show.
Building?
Well,
Building?
Building.
Does she display below average intelligence?
Listening.
She once ordered a bottle of white Zinfandel.
Jackpot!
Oh, she's
If anyone
crazy.
needs me, I'll be sleeping at the hospital tonight.
Why?
Maris's doctor feels it's more soothing for the patient to duplicate the home environment as closely as possible, so I slipped a pearl-handled revolver under her pillow and got myself a room across the hall.
What are you gonna do? Flap me with one of your big fluffy wings?
I'll stop it. Please excuse him.
Oh, for God's sake, Fraser, don't waste your breath on this hairy, knuckle-dragging, mouth-breathing troglodyte who's probably the only male in existence who suffers from penis envy.
Have a banana.
Oh. I think the banana went off.
The banana went
A
off.
roundhouse kick, all right? All right. So you sense your assailant's presence. You feel your body in the space.
What is this face?
Where your opponent is.
Oh, he's
Am I
gonna
ready?
kick Daphne, isn't he?
Strike! Ho! Ho!
Into the butt.
What is it that makes us crane boys such targets? Okay, here we go. Chapter 1, page 1, paragraph 1. I'm indenting. I would gladly go, but I've got my compulsive spending seminar, and I'm hoping to unload the rest of these raffle tickets.
God, I hate lawyers.
Oh, me too. But they make wonderful patients. They have excellent health insurance, and they never get better.
Thanks for the chat, Niles. You're a good brother and a credit to the psychiatric profession.
You're a good brother, too.
He's like, way.
Just
Oh, the Seattle Sonics.
done a lot of
Basketballing.
be a tad nervous.
Don't worry. Nobody makes the shot.
Did you see the way she ran out of here the minute she saw me?
Ah, yes, the trademark of all your bedmates.
I got
I
a
need to put
spark.
money away because I
Me
think
too.
that'd be my biggest
That's just static
adventure.
electricity from the carpet. It can happen to anyone. I'll show you what. Niles.
Stop poking me!
I suppose I like my gents more on the manly side.
So he killed the
Was that
goose.
a little swan you made?
Oh.
No, it was a B-52. Well, I couldn't. I had my fear of abandonment workshop today, and I've already been a no-show twice.
Niles, I would shave my head for you.
A gesture which becomes less significant with each passing year. We have to go. I'm conducting a seminar in multiple personality disorders, and it takes me forever to fill out the name tags. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Maris and I rented the video. I don't mind telling you, we pushed our beds together that night. Constant monitoring where he is. I can see how parents can be obsessed with worry. Last night, I actually had a dream. My flour sack was abducted, and the kidnapper started sending me muffins in the mail. Then I'd hide in the linen closet and wait for her to find me.
Dressed like that?
Actually, no, at the time I was wearing only my eye patch. Although, technically, is it still an eye patch if you're wearing it on your...
Stop!
No, don't want to know. What is he? Oh, he's going to throw it out the window. Oh, no, the couch. Poor Eddie. Subscribe to Nexakid. He makes good content. Always love the videos he puts out. Good content. Good, very good content right there. Oh, Rachel Ballinger, Colleen Ballinger's sister's still making content, apparently. I wonder if she said anything about her sister being fucking terrible. And her fucking ukulele apology. Still mad about that. No, fuck you with your ukulele, stupid Colleen. All right, Scamfish video. Let's go watch it. Oh, it's that time of day.
They're both telling me he's fake. They don't believe that he's real.
This woman is willing to risk it all for a man.
Hold on, before we start. Oh, no, we're not doing this yet. We'll come back to this. We're going to do Crime Fish is what we said. Or not Crime. No, that's not what I want. Crime Zone. Crimes of the Week. International. Or U.S. 1. What state has the most crimes? And any state that has doubles or triples is a shot. And I got Fireball today. So let's see where it lands. What state is going to have the most crime? Make sure you subscribe to their channel, too. They make good content. At least then we know the news
hey everyone,
around the world.
Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone.
All right, where are we starting? Florida. All right, we're starting in Florida.
Authorities in Volusia County, Florida, say that a New York man was placed under arrest this week after he took his truck on a joyride.
Okay. Does it count as Florida or New York? Because if it takes place in Florida, but the criminal's from New York, where does that take place? Let's flip a coin. Alexa, flip a coin. Heads, New York. Tails, Florida. Alexa, flip a coin. All right, so it takes place in Florida. All right, here we go.
Into the ocean on a closed beach, then gave a bizarre excuse for his actions. According to reports, the whole thing started just before 9 a.m. on February 6th when Volusia County officers were called to the oceanfront in the city of New Smyrna Beach. Lifeguards had contacted them after spotting a man in a white Dodge Ram pickup truck who appeared to be driving his vehicle
in the ocean.
water. In footage of the incident, the suspect, 48-year-old New York man Jason Bruskevich, can be seen driving through the waves and backing up directly into the surf. At one point, he even appears to attempt a donut. At the time, authorities say that the beach had been closed due to severe winds and high tide, and there was a real danger of the 48-year-old and his vehicle being swept away.
Look at him, he's just
He
driving
apparently
into
got
the
onto the beach
ocean.
in the first place by driving around its closed gates, which were clearly marked, "Do not enter." Of course, that didn't stop Bruskevich from giving police a strange excuse when he was subsequently placed under arrest.
He's Aquaman.
While speaking to officers while being detained, he can be heard saying, quote, "It's not my fault the truck don't surf," and "I thought I was in England." As ridiculous as the situation
I was in England.
It doesn't seem like the 48-year-old is going to be facing any penalties that are that severe. He was charged with violating local county ordinance and failing to pay a vehicular access fee and was held on $200.
So next time you go anywhere or you try to commit a crime, please make sure you tell the officers, "I thought I was in England."
Bond.
Where are we going? Oregon. All right. Florida, Oregon. No doubles yet.
Authorities in both Washington and Oregon released a tragic
Why does she
update
look
in the
like my
disappearance of a 47-year-old woman this week, announcing that after several days, her remains had been discovered under suspicious circumstances and that her fiancé has now been arrested and charged in connection with the case. The whole thing began late last month when 47-year-old Jeannie Enyart was reported missing by concerned family members. According to the family, Jeannie had last been seen by neighbors on January 27th when she was leaving her home in Portland, near the intersection of Northeast Holiday Street and Northeast 93rd Avenue. At the time, it was believed she was heading to a storage center just over the state border in Vancouver, Washington, to pick up some items for an upcoming move. After an investigation was launched, family members and friends spent days handing out flyers of the missing 47-year-old, as well as following up on leads about where she might be. At one point, they searched warehouses and abandoned homes in North Portland after receiving a tip that she might have been sighted in the area. However, this proved to be a dead end. At the same time that this was happening, a disturbing discovery was made about an hour's drive east of Jeannie's home in Skamania County, Washington. In the city of Stevenson, authorities found an abandoned car that had been crashed into a snowbank. It turned out to belong to Jeannie Enyart. While it's unclear exactly what happened from here, it appears that initially police thought the car was empty. However, a few days later, they confirmed that Jeannie's body had actually been found hidden under a blanket in the trunk. The cause for her death has not been released at the time of this recording, though investigators have stated that she died from, quote, homicidal violence. On February 5th, Jeannie's fiancé, 33-year-old John French, was arrested in connection with the case. According to reports, personal items belonging to him were found in the recovered vehicle, including his wallet, which was on the driver's side floor. Though French put up several messages on social media appearing to show his concern for Jeannie's well-being during the search and pleading for her to come home. Her family now say they always suspected French's involvement in her disappearance.
This is why I don't make friends with
Jeannie
people, I'll tell you that much.
Broken up shortly before she went missing, and she was preparing to move out. Neighbors also claim that they had witnessed Jeannie being physically abused by French. Jeannie's loved ones are understandably devastated about the crime and say that she was the glue that held their family together. The timing of the crime is all the more devastating because her eldest son just had a daughter, and Jeannie was reportedly very excited to be a grandmother. At the time of this recording, John French is facing charges including second-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. He remains in custody.
Dude, if he did it, fuck him. Tennessee. Mother and daughter attack man with frying pan after he says he wants
Authorities
a divorce.
in Cheatham County, Tennessee say that a mother and daughter are facing attempted murder charges this week following a brutal attack against their husband/father, which they had allegedly carried out because he asked for a divorce. According to reports, the whole thing started just after 7 a.m. on the morning of January 27th when the Cheatham County Sheriff's Department received 2 911 calls in quick succession about the same residence in Ashland City. The first call was placed by 29-year-old Kelly Davis, who said that she and her 62-year-old mother, Pam, had been attacked by her father, 59-year-old David Davis. The second call was placed by David himself, who claimed that it had actually been the other way around. When officers arrived at the scene, they spoke with both parties separately to try to work out what had happened. At first, it apparently seemed like Kelly and Pam were telling the truth, especially after Kelly reportedly showed police a number of apparent knife wounds to her torso and neck. She and Pam were both inside the family home crying when officers found them, with Kelly stating that her father had, quote, done this before. However, things started to change when police noticed that all of the wounds that Kelly and Pam had sustained were superficial and were not very serious. Conversely, when police spoke to David, they found him suffering from injuries to his head that were severe and still bleeding. The 59-year-old was shirtless and appeared to be in shock, telling officers, quote, I've had better days. David explained that the previous evening he had gotten into an hours-long argument with his wife Pam after telling her that he wanted a divorce. He said that he awoke the next morning to find his wife beating him in the head with a frying pan. Things escalated from there very quickly, he claimed. His daughter attacked him with a knife, and Pam proceeded to try and choke him with a belt. He managed to get away and run to a neighbor's house, which is when he called for help. While the situation is still under investigation at the time of this recording, it seems that for now, police believe David's version of the story. His wife and daughter, meanwhile, were arrested on attempted first-degree murder charges.
Authorities in Somerset County, New Jersey say that a 27-year-old man is facing multiple charges this week following the brutal murder of a young woman outside her home, a crime that investigators allege was meticulously planned by the suspect in advance. The incident began at around 10:20 p.m. on January 30th when police in the town of Somerville received a 911 call to an apartment complex on North Bridge Street. Alarmed residents said that they had found a young woman who appeared to have been the victim of a vicious attack. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the victim, later identified as 27-year-old Mary Rose Feely, suffering from dozens of stab wounds. Emergency responders tried desperately to save her life, but sadly, she soon died of her injuries. Upon further examination of the scene, authorities realized that Mary had likely been the victim of a terrifying ambush. The front passenger side door of her vehicle was open, and several of her belongings were scattered across her front yard. They also learned that she had been on her way home from a business in the neighboring community of Bridgewater at the time of her murder. After launching an investigation, detectives recovered 2 important pieces of surveillance video reportedly linked to the crime. The footage showed a man dressed in a black face mask and gray sweatshirt standing near Mary's home about an hour and a half before her murder. Authorities now allege that man is 27-year-old David Schroitman, a former classmate of Mary's who graduated the same year as her from Somerville High School in 2014. When police first approached Schroitman as part of the investigation, he reportedly refused to speak with them. At that time, detectives noted that he had a plastic garbage bag over the driver's seat of his Toyota Camry, and that duct tape and what appeared to be a black face mask were also inside the vehicle. Police claim they later observed the 27-year-old as he performed a deep clean of his same vehicle, one in which he used copious amounts of bleach while wearing latex gloves.
About your crime committing.
One of these gloves was allegedly found to have blood on it when Schroitman disposed of it. The most damning evidence against the 27-year-old, though, apparently came when investigators obtained a warrant to search his residence. Inside, they found more blood, bleach, and a manifesto written by Schroitman, laying out in disturbing detail how he planned to kill Mary. Those who knew Mary say that they are devastated and stunned by her sudden and brutal death. According to an online obituary, she graduated from Rutgers Business School in 2018 and was a former federal employee for the Naval Surface Warfare Center. Her true passion, though, was her work as an advocate for people struggling with drug addiction, which she considered her life's mission. At the time of this recording, the motive behind the crime remains unknown, though Schroitman is now facing a number of charges, including first-degree murder, possession of a weapon, tampering with physical evidence, and hindering prosecution. The situation is still developing.
This dude, man. Canadian man. All right. Free samples of cocaine.
Authorities in Calgary, Alberta say that a local drug dealer's entrepreneurial spirit may have landed him in jail this week after he recently tried a rather unique marketing technique to drum up new business. According to reports, the whole thing started on Christmas Eve 2023 when Calgary police received a tip about unusual drug activity outside of a casino in the city's downtown. When they looked into the situation, they learned that someone had been handing out business cards to patrons of the business, ones that had quite the interesting free sample attached. A small baggie of cocaine. With little other information on the business card other than the name Alex Lee, authorities didn't have much to go on. However, after 6 weeks of investigation, they were apparently able to crack the case. On February 3rd, officers conducted a traffic stop on a white 2020 Toyota Tundra. What they found inside was enough to arrest the driver, 30-year-old Saeed Amir Razavi, as well as help them to obtain a search warrant for his residence on Beaconsfield Place, Northwest. During the subsequent search, police recovered $1,280 in cash, 60 grams of cocaine that had been divided into more than 50 small baggies, and most damning of all,
free cocaine.
A box of those business cards with the name Alex Lee on them. At the time of this recording, Razavi has been charged with 2 counts of trafficking a controlled substance, 1 count of possession for the purpose of trafficking, and 3 counts of possession of proceeds of crime under $5,000. He has since been released from custody, with his next court date scheduled for February 26th.
All right, where we go next? Indiana. We're not doubles yet. No doubles. No doubles.
Authorities in Allen County, Indiana say that a 60-year-old man is facing murder charges this week after he allegedly killed his girlfriend and then staged the scene, concocting a bizarre self-defense story that he claimed started with an argument over onions. The whole thing started around 8:30 p.m. on February 3rd. Allen County Sheriff's Department received a 911 call from a residence on the 10,500 block of Lagoon Drive in Cedar Creek Township. The caller, later identified
All right. We should be good. Hopefully our camera's back online where it needs to be. Oh, no. It's way too high. Way too high. Hi, camera. Okay. That should be better, hopefully. I don't really know, but oh well.
His 60-year-old Charles Michael Calvert stated that his girlfriend had come at him with a knife. Disturbingly, he went on to say, quote, "She is no longer with us." When officers arrived at the scene, they found Calvert waiting for them outside on the driveway with his hands up. They continued on into the residence where they found a woman lying on the ground in the kitchen. She was unresponsive and had no pulse, and sadly, was pronounced dead at the scene. Calvert identified the woman as his girlfriend of roughly a year, 64-year-old public defender and former Allen County magistrate Marcia Linsky. Marcia had suffered obvious knife wounds to her head and upper body, including a large gash on her neck. One of her thumbs had also been almost completely severed. According to Calvert, the two of them had been making dinner that night when suddenly Marcia got aggressive. She told him that he was chopping onions incorrectly and out of nowhere pushed the crock pot towards him, which fell and smashed on the floor. She then grabbed a knife and attacked. Calvert claimed he grabbed his own knife for protection and said he couldn't remember exactly what happened after that, but that it had ended with Marcia getting hurt.
Jesus.
Unfortunately for Calvert, police apparently noticed a number of details very quickly that didn't add up. For starters, there was evidence of a struggle in other parts of the house that suggested the incident hadn't actually started in the kitchen. On top of this, the knives placed near Marcia's body were fairly clean. This led investigators to believe that the scene had likely been staged. Upon further analysis, detectives found even more details that reportedly didn't add up. They now allege that Calvert may have waited up to an hour after Marcia was dead before phoning 911, during which time he may have showered and cleaned up. On the phone, he sounded eerily calm and also appeared to be in no rush for help to arrive. Even his central claim about the onion chopping argument apparently fell flat. There was an onion skin in the garbage, but police didn't actually find a chopped onion at the scene. According to reports, Calvert was arrested and is now facing murder charges. So far, police have not released any information about what they think the actual motive behind the crime was.
Where are we at next? Las Vegas. Pro-life Spider-Man.
Authorities in Las Vegas, Nevada say that an online climbing influencer and self-identified anti-abortion activist is facing charges this week following his latest publicity stunt, which allegedly caused more than $100,000 worth of damage to the city's newest attraction. The whole thing unfolded on February 7th when 24-year-old Mason Deschamps scaled the newly constructed Las Vegas Sphere. The attraction, which has only been open since September of last year, is 367 feet tall and took Deschamps roughly 20 minutes to complete. The climb is what is known as a free solo, meaning that it was done without the assistance of any ropes, gear, or protective measures. Understandably, the stunt caused quite a stir in the area, which according to the 24-year-old was what he wanted.
What are you doing?
While live streaming the whole thing to social media, he explained that he was trying to raise money to prevent a 37-year-old homeless woman named Isabel from getting an abortion. According to reports, this is far from the first time Mason has done something like this.
Look at him. Look
Calling
at him with
himself
that
the
weird
pro-life
face.
Spider-Man, he has scaled a number of well-known buildings and structures in the last couple of years, usually for anti-abortion related causes. These past climbs include the New York Times building in Manhattan, the 50-story Devon Tower in Oklahoma, and the 600-foot Accenture Tower in Chicago.
How about that?
While the 24-year-old has been arrested numerous times for these stunts, his latest could be his most costly to date. According to spokespeople for the Las Vegas Sphere, the outside of the structure, which features more than 58 million lights, is extremely delicate, and the aluminum tracking that holds them was never meant to support the weight of a human. The exterior is so delicate, in fact, that even repair workers doing maintenance on the structure access the panels from inside the venue. At the time of this recording, company representatives say that they're still assessing the damage from Mason's climb, but estimate that it will take in excess of $100,000 to fix what was broken during the stunt. As a result, the 24-year-old has now been charged with destroying property greater than $5,000 and conspiracy to destroy private property.
It looks so cool.
Despite this, Mason was apparently unfazed during his arrest this week. He reportedly bragged to police that he has never been convicted for his past stunts and that, quote, his attorneys will get him off for this incident as well.
Fuck you, dude. 6 bodies recovered after fire and shooting in Pennsylvania home. Oh shit, we're in Pennsylvania.
Authorities in Delaware County, Pennsylvania
no
say that a community has been left shaken and in
We're
mourning
not in
this
Double
week
Land.
following the tragic death of 5 people at the alleged hands of one of their own family members. The whole thing started shortly before 4 p.m. on February 7th when Delaware County
I'm in a
Police
mood,
received
I
a
don't know.
911 call from a residence in the community of East Lansdowne. The caller stated that a young girl had been shot, and according to reports, more gunfire could be heard in the background. When officers arrived at the scene, a 3-story home on Lewis Avenue, they attempted to enter through the front door. However, they were forced to stop after they were shot at as well. 2 officers were hit, one in the arm and one in the leg, prompting police to take up defensive positions. Not long after this, a fire broke out at the house, one which quickly spread as firefighters were not able to approach due to the danger. By the time it was finally deemed safe, most of the residents had been destroyed. Sadly, as police searched the wreckage over the next 2 days, they ultimately recovered the bodies of 6 people. 5 of those people have since been identified as husband and wife, 40-year-old Shang Lei and 37-year-old Brittany McLaughlin Lei, as well as their 3 children, 17-year-old Natalia, 13-year-old Michaela, and 10-year-old Xavier. The remaining person is said to be Shang Lei's 43-year-old brother, Kan Lei, who is now believed to be the person responsible for the devastating tragedy.
Why?
While nothing has been confirmed at the time of this recording, according to the only 2 survivors of the incident, Shang and Kan's parents, the incident began that afternoon when Kan got into an argument with one of his nieces.
People would be happy.
At some point, the grandparents claim that they overheard Kan saying he was going to grab a weapon, after which they heard gunshots. They managed to run to safety because they were on the first floor at the time and were apparently the ones who called for help. Police have confirmed that the charred remains of a rifle that was used to shoot at officers was recovered amongst the burned debris. However, the cause of the fire still remains under investigation, as do the exact causes of deaths for all of the family members. An alleged motive likewise has yet to be determined, with some reports citing the surviving grandparents who simply stated that their son went haywire. However, additional local news sources may provide some further insight, stating that Kan was recently divorced and out of work at the time of the incident. Still, other reports mention that Kan was previously charged with making terroristic threats, trespassing, and disorderly conduct in 2006. As for friends, loved ones, and neighbors of the victims, they say that the Leis were beloved members of their local community. A statement released by surviving family members reads in part, quote, "Brittany and Shang were a happily married couple for 17 years, loving and devoted parents to their 3 children, their extended family, and their beloved friends. Their 3 children all excelled in academics, the arts, and sports. Our hearts are broken, and we vow to cherish the memories of our loved ones, and we will work to ensure that their legacies live on." At the time of this recording, the situation is still very much under investigation. Thankfully, it has been said that both police officers wounded during the incident have now been released from a local hospital. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made.
So we got no doubles, which means we still have to take a shot, unfortunately. But I'm very glad that no states had multiple weird crimes this week. I'm very happy about that. That's a very positive thing. But we're gonna take this fireball shot. I don't want to. And then we're gonna go watch the scam fish video. 1, where do you think the scammer's from? 2, how much money do you think this lady sent? And 3, oh, she sent her social security checks, you guys. Oh, Jesus. Cheers. Here goes the fireball. Oh. I was so fucking terrified already. Ugh. Hold on, that deserves this. That deserves the other one. Oh. Here's our George Bush one.
We will renew America's purpose. We will write not footnotes, but chapters in the American story. We will use these good times for great goals. And we will not turn back.
I think I'm gonna pee real quick, you guys. Don't die on me. It's okay, I'll live. Period. We are. Let's check our stuff. Okay, our stream should be good, hopefully. Anyways, let's go watch the Scamfish video. I'm just depressed now by all of this. It's so heartbreaking to think about
All for
every
a man
day.
she met online.
So lonely here when I ain't gonna do the play my game. I can't believe you've been sending them money.
But he's in danger.
Oh,
and
great. It's
desperately
another
needs her
military
help.
scam. Wonderful.
In Syria, he's not safe there. He needs to get out.
This internet
No, he
romance
doesn't, 'cause he's
is
not real.
ruining her relationship with her family.
You just believed everything. Like from
No,
the
I
get
read that on
go.
there.
He's promised to buy her a house and marry her.
He was supposed to have been retiring from the military and moving here, buying a house here.
Angela and her daughter want us to reveal the truth.
It's just been lie after lie after lie. She seems to believe it.
Like I said, I don't want to be used.
Well, don't be stupid then, stupid.
Let's see if we can crack this case, Seekers. Real quick, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hate
Your
everything
comment
about the world.
and like could help stop someone from being scammed. Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm 57 years old. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. Had 3 kids by the time I was 19. Grew up, raised my kids. So I have a 17-year-old granddaughter that's getting ready to graduate from high school here this year. And then I got this little one that's 7, Chloe. I'm a widow for almost 2 years now. I was with my husband for 42 years.
Angela enjoyed 42 happy years in her marriage, but everything changed 2 years ago when her husband, the family's anchor and breadwinner, lost his battle to cancer. The
I thought
sudden
they were gonna
void
say
left
something
Angela
else.
feeling utterly alone in a world that once thrived on love and togetherness.
My whole family's just broken because of it, because he was like the glue that held everybody together. I miss him a lot. And I'm just looking for someone to spend some time with and do some fun things with.
To take the place of her
Have a
husband.
life again.
After Angela's husband
She's
passed
young,
away,
too, at
a
57.
few years later, her daughters wanted to lift her spirits. They suggested creating an online dating profile for her on Tinder.
My daughters put me up a Tinder account. She said, well, Mom, try to sign up for Tinder. Maybe you can find a man on there.
After a few weeks, Angela was messaged by a man who immediately caught her eye.
The first time Timothy messaged me was like 2 weeks before he was supposed to go to Syria. He messaged me and I told him Happy Father's Day, and we didn't just start talking. asked me how I was doing, asked me how things are. We just talked about everything. Timothy Dustin Zaleski is 49, I believe. He's a soldier. He's tall, his head shaved. He's 6'3". He has brown eyes. Talking about things we liked and things we didn't like. And we had a lot of time and we like to spend time together, cuddle, watch Netflix. Our birthdays was like the next day apart. And when he found out I'd been with one person only my whole life, he was...
I like whoever edited this video. They put good music for this one so far.
He wanted to move to Tennessee. He's just loving and caring. I have feelings for him. I have talked to him twice on the phone, on video call, and all the other is text.
They texted for weeks, and Angela's daughters were happy she found someone to talk to. Timothy planned to meet her in person, but faced several obstacles.
Supposedly he was on a contract. He said Syria. Told me he was an analyst, that he done analyst work for the Army, where he was working at over there. And he said he wasn't allowed to have phone calls or videos or send any pictures, but the Army put him up in a motel for him to get a good internet connection because he has to do some analyst work or something. And he sent me a picture of a house that got blown up across the street from the motel, so he wasn't going to be going there for a while. So I don't know. Said he was living in a tent in Syria. They was supposed to go going to get the terrorists that started the crap over in Islam.
Oh, because it's not
Supposedly he's
real,
supposed to be
you
here
stupid
anytime.
fuck.
The plane is supposed to be bringing him back to the States. Now he's
So
like,
he's flying a plane back to the States. You dumbass motherfucker.
First time, he started calling me wanting cards. Go to the store, get the card, scratch it off, and send him the number. And I'm like, why do you need so many Apple cards? He called me and
Why
he
are
goes,
you
it's so
sending
lonely here when I ain't gonna do shit. I have to play my game.
I can't believe you've been sending them money.
Angela never mentioned to her daughters that she had been sending money to Timothy. Timothy said he needed gift cards to play games on his console while on the base. Her family started doubting his existence when they heard...
Oh, honey, I love you. I need you to send me gift cards so I can play video games. Fuck you, you fucking ass. I fucking hate people.
Heard he was stuck on a military base.
No.
People tell me he's fake. They don't believe that he's real. Both kids.
Well, I've been telling her that he's fake, and I just now found out that she was sending him money.
I kind of like him to be real. I wouldn't believe that they was wrong.
She doesn't have money to be given to anybody, for one.
He wanted me to pay his realtor friend $5,000 for a finder's fee to get us a house, and then he was supposed to pay for it when he got out of the Army. It was supposed to be for him finding us a house in Tennessee. I mean, it didn't really hurt me to the point. I kind of that money I didn't spend on something else. But I was a dummy and I did it. So at first he was wanting me to go to a Bitcoin place.
Oh, Jesus. Like if it's a civilian scam, sure, a lot of things make sense if it's a civilian scam, but when it becomes a military scam, I don't have. How about you do your fucking research, you dumbass motherfucker? I don't know how hard it is to do research. Let me go type into Google. Why isn't my service member getting money? Maybe the government shut down. No, he gets paid every 1st and 15th of the month. Maybe it's a bigger problem than him needing money. Or you could call me and be on my stream.
Place and get, I guess, do $4,000 there. He said he would put it in his account or something. I don't know.
Timothy's conversations would switch to the topic of money almost every single time they spoke.
Because he needed money
wanted
to fucking scam
send
you,
it or
dumbass.
receive it. He had an excuse for everything and promised once he got home, he would pay every dollar back and her kids would have nothing to worry about. Angela's family had warned her time after time, yet she still holds hope.
He wanted my bank account number so he could.
Why would you
look
give
in my
somebody your
account.
bank account info?
And then he wanted to see my birth certificate, my social security card, all my checks go in that account. I got like $3,900 a month that goes in that account.
Well, I know one thing, when you put his name in Facebook, there's like 1 million accounts that come up for one. And for two, when you Google his name, it's all you see is scam, 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 scam.
My daughter sent me a publishing thing saying that he had over 50 Nigerian people using his name. He tells me his laptop was stolen. That's how his information got out there. And he's thinking another soldier might have found it, and another soldier might have something going on with it. So he don't want me to talk to nobody. He says, you know that they stole my iPad with all my info on it. You know that people's using my name. You've seen it when we met. And he claims that the Army's investigating it, but I don't know.
Angela has been sending her social security checks and a pension that her husband had left for her after his passing. She wants to know the truth to prove her family wrong.
I mean, for somebody to take somebody's social security money, it's not cool. So
No,
it
dude,
pisses
that's
me
not
off that
cool
he's
at
out there
all.
Taking advantage of her.
I'm trying to help him, help him have something to keep him occupied. Feel sorry for him. I mean, he didn't force me to. I done it on my own. I hope it's
You're a
really not
dumbass.
safe, but I just need to know for sure. I'll probably be a little heartbroken, but of course I don't want to be alone. Like I said, I don't want to be used. And
Well,
people
you
treat me like I'm
are,
stupid,
and you're
you just
being
think that I'm
fucking
stupid.
stupid about it.
I don't know how to do it all these days with dating.
If you found yourself in a similar situation to Angela and you want to prove your family wrong about the man that you've been communicating with online, reach out to us. We can help you find answers. Email us, sharemystory@socialcatfish.com. Okay, Seekers, when we were listening to Angela, she said that she was waiting on a mysterious check for $5,000.
But supposedly, he's got $5,000 check supposed to be coming to me tomorrow. His lawyer's sending me. He wants me to, he owes me money out of it. He's wanting me to send the rest to him an Apple Card.
And Angela did end up getting that check in the mail. He was pressuring her to go and cash the check as soon as she
Dumbass.
received it. Along with the check, he sent her a ring and a necklace.
He's got a ring and necklace on its way, so that I'll wait for him to get there so nobody else takes me.
We needed to debunk this guy's lies and checked into the homes that he was claiming to buy for her. We ran multiple searches on our site and checked into all of the homes and the realtor that was helping her with the buying process. The realtor sent a list of houses, and he was asking Angela to pay a $6,000 finder fee. After she picked one out, Timothy claimed he would buy whatever home she wanted outright. We pulled as much information as we could before Angela could even think twice about cashing that check. After the 2 days of searching, we felt we were ready. Stick around until the end as we break down the truth about Timothy. It was now time to sit down with Angela to go over everything that we had found out about Timothy. How are you doing, Angela?
I'm doing good. Waiting to find out the truth so I can finally be over this mess.
So, Angela, have you talked to Timothy recently?
I talked to Timothy this morning. He's at the California airport. Nobody to come and get him, take him home. He's not got no money. Want me to send him an Apple Card to eat. I don't know what's real and what's not real anymore. I just want to know the truth so I can go on with my life.
I hear your daughter in the background.
Hi.
Do you mind sitting in really quick with us for a second?
Sure.
I didn't even expect for you to be here today. How are you feeling about everything?
I just want her to know the truth because I've been telling her all along that I think he's fake. And when I found out, like I said, when she was sending him money, it pissed me off because, you know, she's on Social Security. My dad just recently passed, and nobody needs to take advantage of somebody that doesn't even have money to give. So,
Angela, what is the outcome that you would like to see from this interview?
I was wanting him to be real and be with me, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So we pulled a lot of information for your case, and we have a lot of details to go over. We looked at the phone numbers that you had sent over to us. We weren't able to find very much information because these were VoIP phone numbers, which is an online internet phone number. Anyone
Fake
can
phone number.
create these without any personal information attached. Are you surprised by that?
Kind of. Little. He was supposed to have been retiring from the military and living here, buying a house here.
No, because it's
Let's
a
get
lie.
together. What I thought the plans was.
So you had sent over a bunch of images of homes, correct? So where did you and Timothy originally make plans where you would like to buy a home?
The realtor that could find a house in Tennessee for us.
Well, we looked into some of the chats between
Not
you and
real.
the realtor, and you guys were discussing which houses you wanted to buy, and he brought up a finder's fee.
Yeah.
How much?
And Tim expected me to pay it, and then he would pay the house off once he got to military retirement.
How much was
No,
the
no, that
finder's fee?
$5,000. Guess that's just for
Why would a
fun, any
finder's
whole
fee be like
period.
$5,000?
What we did is we took all of the images that you sent over to us of these homes, starting with the first home that you had sent over to us. We found that the original listing matched what the realtor had sent you, the pricing, the specs
So
on
it's
the
a scam.
home, that all matches. However, the home is located in Quebec, Canada.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Curious
Fuck
where
you.
you and Timothy were looking to buy a home.
I wasn't going there. No. I found a couple that I liked, but I didn't want to pay no $300,000 for a house.
So scrolling on through the next home that we looked at, we also found that the specs matched what the realtor had sent you. However, that home is located in Kentucky. Any plans to live in Kentucky?
No. No, there's not supposed to be in Tennessee, as far as I knew.
The last home is coincidentally also
Who do you think she
located in
voted for?
Kentucky. So we could not find one home from Tennessee.
Yeah, I knew it was a scam. Something told me it was. I felt it.
All of these
Well, yeah, you
homes
still
were
sent him
found
money, you
on
dumbass.
sites like Zillow. This realtor was trying to charge you $5,000 for some houses that were public information. Yeah.
We did also look into the home that was on fire.
That was across the street from the hotel that he got to go to do his computer work where he had fake internet used. In Syria, he's not safe there. He needs to get out.
He's not safe. No,
He
because
needed help.
he's
He
not.
needed to get out of there. They're going to let him leave, but he had to pay for his own plane back to California.
No, he's not in
And he gets there and he
Syria.
don't have nobody pick him up at the airport. Nobody help him.
You just believed everything. Like from
No,
the
I
get
read that on their case. It was.
From the
What?
get-go,
She-
she was
her,
telling
her daughter's like, you dumbass motherfucker.
nothing ever matched up. Like it's just been lie after lie after lie, and she seems to believe it. So I hope you guys can
I need
Help
it.
her?
I need to read.
reveal the
She's like,
truth.
oh no, mama.
So we
I
ran
don't
reverse
know why
image
you
searches
believe
on
all
this
of
image,
this.
and we found
What
matches
could we
right away.
do?
This home in the past was
get
on
outta
fire at one point. I mean, something happened to this home in the past, and we were able to find that because it is public data and it is linked to news articles where a home was on
Wonderful.
fire in the UK. So this neighborhood, this
Not even a
home
real fucking house
is
in
from
the fucking
UK.
US.
Still, I mean, another lie.
Speaking
right?
of things in the UK,
So we were able to figure out who
hold
this
on. Did anybody see about the water park in the UK that caught in Sweden that caught on fire this week? Because if not, you are dumb, and I'm so mad because I kind of work at a water park hotel that when a water park hotel, and I like check people in, and my fucking words about the security deposit is, don't burn down the hotel. And my first thought is the episode of the IT Crowd where Roy goes on a date with the girl where her parents died in a fire at Sea Parks, which is a water park hotel, and it's the stupidest fucking thing. And I've never caught anybody who got my joke so far, but the entire IT Crowd subreddit yesterday after the fucking water park caught on fire was filled with that, and I'm so mad that it wasn't me who got to post that. Because it was so stupid. A fire at Sea Parks. Ugh, so stupid. So fucking stupid.
man in these images really was. Are you ready?
Are you ready? Who is it?
I am.
I'm ready.
All right.
It's Timothy Zaleski. He has
Okay.
been a victim of people stealing his images for a very long time. I found
Dude.
hundreds of fake profiles, but someone has pretended to be him and stolen his pictures, basically masked behind this profile for the purpose of
Girl doing laundry. I think
scamming
that's the
you.
sexiest thing ever.
Obviously, if you're not talking from these specific profiles, you're not talking to the real person.
No shit.
So I figured.
And just to be clear, Timothy, he has nothing to do with this. The real guy in these images, he's not a
Somebody
criminal.
else.
He's not a bad guy.
People pretending to be him.
Yeah, and he has to deal with this every single day.
man.
He's getting people like yourself that fell for a fake profile using his images and likeness, and they're reaching out to him and they're like, hey, you scammed me.
Hey,
Unfortunately, we live in a time where you can easily, for free, hop on Instagram, make a fake profile, and pretend to be someone you're not.
So if you don't block him,
I'm
keep
blocking him.
him blocked.
I'm going to.
This is very important. If you're going to stay safe and continue talking online, just make sure that you do your due diligence and make sure that people can jump on a video call, first day.
You've been talking to somebody for 8 months and not video chatted one time.
I have twice.
Why?
It was like a very short video call. And
It wasn't
gone.
even
We
a
didn't have
real
good
call,
reception.
was it?
He claims he couldn't because you can't in the military.
That's also not true as well.
That's
the
so
military
not
does allow
true.
you access to
That's what I thought.
phone. You can call people.
Oh, that's what
you
I
can
thought. But
video
you still
message.
fucking believe
These
it, you
guys,
dumbass.
they're not creative at all. They use the same old story. I'm in a different country.
I'm so tired of
and
these
I
fucking
need
people
money
getting
for
scammed like this.
Whatever
We need to
reason,
figure out a
because
fucking
I'm
plan
trapped.
to fix
I need a
this.
little bit more, and I can get to you soon. But take care of this for me, and it'll push it further,
we
and
need to
I
come
will
up with a
eventually see
fucking-
you.
Next week.
Like,
And he's been telling her
non-profit
for
or
a long
something
time
for
he'll be
this.
home, and then it keeps getting pushed
And then
back
still
and
their
pushed
content.
back. But like everything's just been a lie, and I've been telling her he's not real, and I know she didn't want to hear it, but at the end of the day,
I needed to hear this from you guys.
Yeah,
I did.
you
She
needed
did,
to
because
hear
she
it from
wasn't
people who
listening to me.
fucking love you. Which
What
you
is the
should've listened
reason
to her.
why
Oh, because
you,
I'm lonely.
Angela,
Fuck
are
you.
so open to the information that we're giving you today versus the
Compared what your daughter
information that
fucking
your
told
family
you.
has been telling you for
For
maybe
months.
a couple months now, or a couple weeks at least?
well, what I can say about her is she just always believes anything that she sees on the internet, regardless whether it's a person or not. If she reads it on the internet, she believes it. So she's just a very gullible person.
How do you feel about that, Angela?
I am. I feel sorry for people too easy.
Well, I feel sorry people who
That
get
big heart
scammed like me. I don't know how
Sometimes
to
you get hurt
fucking
from
be
it.
better. Fuck you.
Seemed like you would probably give the shirt off your back to this guy. And unfortunately, they're looking for that. They're looking for a person that's willing to help them through whatever to get that money out of you.
I'm blocking him. I'm done. I don't want to never talk to him again.
Yeah, if I hear Timothy come out of her mouth again, we're gonna have a big problem.
The next step for you, Angela, we encourage everybody that comes up here to file a police report. What you're doing when you file a police report and you report this type of scam is you're getting the word out there. The FTC stats go up every single year, and all that does is let people know how common this is. I believe everybody has someone that knows somebody that fell for a romance scam. We just need to keep getting the word out, because not everybody is as brave as you. Not everybody is gonna come up here, share their story, and willing to say, hey, I'm confused about this stuff. A lot of people get scammed and they just go about their life.
It's also helpful too because the profile that you're talking to may be scamming someone else, and they may be able to make a connection with the scam.
Yeah, I agree. Make other people aware.
Didn't want to
What's
believe it
wrong?
wasn't true. But yet I kind of knew it wasn't too, so. And I just wonder how many more people, innocent women out there getting
A
scammed like I
lot,
am.
dude. A lot.
I got a good heart, and care about people. And I thought I was trying to do something
More than you
good
think
as a
there
military
is,
man, and,
honestly.
yeah, I guess you learn from your mistakes. At least I know what's going on now, though, and I can block them and not have to feel guilty. I was trying to be nice and end up getting hurt from it.
Well, let's get this guy blocked. I
Good.
appreciate you so much reaching out to us. I'm so happy that you took in the information the way you did today and get to dating real people, real men.
Exactly.
People who like
I'm glad
you.
you guys were able to find out some stuff because
I said I was confused. I didn't know what to believe anymore.
We got your back, Angela.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you guys helping me out.
It was nice meeting you, Angela.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Poor lady. I hope she did better.
Thanks for watching. Remember, all of our new videos go out every
Make
Wednesday
sure you guys
at
follow
9
their
a.m.
channel.
Eastern
They do a
Time.
lot of cool
See you
stuff.
guys next
and
week.
they make sure to do everything that needs to be done. Every Wednesday we watch their fucking content because I believe they're doing the right thing. I will be back, and I think we're gonna go play some fucking Suicide Squad or something. And just see how the day goes. I hope you guys are having fun. Don't die. All right, let us continue here. I don't know how this is gonna work, but maybe it will. Who knows? I gotta press the button, don't I? How odd. That's not the one I want, I guess. No, that's not it either. Maybe it's this one. Who knows?